About 2 months ago, I made a video. It was about creative slumps and getting down on yourself and the things that you can do to get yourself out of these low points. That video kickstarted a new high in my YouTube career that really just gave me the confidence that I needed within myself to just create what I wanted to. And I think it was the catalyst for a lot of what I'm about to talk about. But within that video, I told myself that I'd set a goal. I'd make 100 videos on YouTube, no matter what they were, and I wouldn't even think about quitting before I did that. So the goal was to make 100 videos, and I was so confident in this YouTube thing and what I was doing and the things that I believed in that I told myself, I don't want to quit. I don't want to think about quitting until I had 100 videos. And there are reasons that I did that, and I'll get into those. But at the end of the day, this past week, I thought about quitting. I thought about quitting YouTube and quitting videos entirely, even potentially just quitting everything I'm doing and just getting a regular old 9-to-5, trying to basically restructure my life. And the idea of quitting comes from a story. So I think we're going to start there. In the video, I focused on a few things, with the main one being visualizations. So visualizing your future, visualizing what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, in different types of regards. And I'd actually done the things that I said in the video. So I think I wrote down like things that you want to see personally, things that you want to see change in the world, and a few other things regarding visualization. I actually did them. You know, it wasn't just for the video. It was actually really what I did. And I wasn't going to share them because I kind of wanted to see them manifest themselves. But the further I got into it, the more I realized that, well, we'll get into that. But these were the 3 things that I put in my vision. Number 1, I want to be an independent artist. I wanted to not have to rely on, big financial backers or have some sort of team that I was having to look up to and some sort of, organization, really, that I had to answer to. I wanted to be my own person, my own artist. I wanted to work for myself. Fair enough. Number 2, I wanted to create what I wanted. I didn't want to be held back by any sort of, expectation from people, whether that be the general public, whether that be, like I said, a financial backer, whether that be anybody. I didn't want to have any sort of expectation to live up to. I just wanted to create what I wanted, anything that came to mind, and I felt like it was important enough to share. I wanted to share it. And the third one in my vision, be free from self-judgment. This is something that I struggle a lot with. But in my vision, I told myself, okay, if there's something I need to work towards, it's not being so judgmental about myself in many regards, but mostly in my art, or at least in this case, specifically in my art. Being less judgmental about the things that I'm creating, the processes that I have, the, kind of the general quality, and comparing it to other people. I have a big problem with taking what I'm doing and comparing it with people that are more established than me. I think overall, the goal generally was to free myself from the restraints that I placed on myself and liberate myself as a person, as an artist, as, just a creative. I didn't want to be held back by anything. I just wanted to be, I wanted to create, I wanted to exist and have no boundaries set by anybody or by anything. And this was great. This was really, really great. Especially in my head, it just sounded like this is what I needed to do. I hold myself back a lot, so I figure, well, maybe I should, aim towards not holding myself back and not being held back at all. And it took me 2 months of working towards that goal to realize that it wasn't the right goal, wasn't really the right goal, wasn't really what I had in mind. Or rather, it wasn't. It was what I had in mind, but it wasn't a good goal. It put me up here. It put me in the clouds. This desire to free myself from judgment came with little consequence, and that was isolating myself creatively and personally from everybody else that had an opinion on what I was doing and the things that I was creating, the things that I wanted to express, the things that I wanted to get out into the world. Just anything that I was involved in creatively, I isolated myself from everybody else because I just wanted to be in my own little world, and that was the vision I set out for myself. I didn't want any restraints. And while it sounds good in theory, it turned into something that, only I was involved in and only I could understand. I built up these walls so high that, any sort of questioning from anybody, even if they just wanted clarification on what I was doing, the things that I was creating, the things that I was involving myself in, like YouTube videos or this podcast or any sort of actual creative art piece like this lamp behind me. Anything that I was doing, I was afraid of explaining to people, and almost it almost made me upset, having to explain to people like, this is what I'm doing, and when people questioned me and they kind of started to, again, even if it was just for clarification to understand, okay, well, why are you doing this exactly? Who's your audience? Like trying to give me basically guidance. I shut them down. I shut them out, and it became sort of an aggressive thing. I felt like people were trying to shoot me down and hold me back rather than help me progress. So in a sense, I did accomplish what I wanted. I really did free myself from any sort of judgment and, from myself and from other people. And well, I did achieve what I wanted. It drove me down this hole of creative and personal isolation where I shut people out and I didn't let anyone's opinion really get to me at all. I didn't let it get through. And I realized that in the last episode, last week. And when I did realize that, I had to slow down because I was working really hard and I was working really fast and not, hitting the checkpoints of like quality or making sure that I'm making things for other people. And again, I talked about this in the last episode, but I wasn't hitting the checkpoints that I needed to make sure that I'm making something good that other people could value. So I had to slow down and I had to regather myself. So following that fun little realization, I had to take the time to, not create anything. I had to take the time to slow down and, kind of regather myself and understand where I am, what I want to do, and just kind of, slow down and take a moment to breathe and assess the situation. So that's where I am. That's where I'm at currently. And I feel like every creative or every artist that's ever existed has been here before. I feel like every single creative that's ever existed has been at this point where they have to slow down and question and kind of assess the situation for everything that's going on. And, after having to come back down to earth and reevaluate everything, you start to naturally question everything. It's not just, it's not just my vision or whatever, but it was more of a broad, it was a broad challenging of my purpose. I started to challenge my, how I saw myself, how I saw my purpose, how I saw the things that I wanted to do. Like I said, I'm sure every artist has been here. So I propose a question. Have you ever asked well, let me try that again. Have you ever told yourself, I suck? Have you ever done that? Have you ever told yourself, I suck, to yourself? Chances are, yes. Obviously, we all have. And if you haven't, oh boy, you'll be there soon. I promise. It happens to everyone. Even if you're not in a creative field, just generally, I'm sure there's a lot of situations where you kind of question your own purpose and your own, how you see yourself and everything. You get to a point where you question okay, do I suck at this? Do I suck in general? Do I suck at what I do? Are my ideas not valuable? Am I not valuable? Have I wasted my time? Have I wasted other people's time? You start to get into this like feedback loop of just negative self-talk. If you're there right now, really evaluate that feeling. Really lean into it and ask yourself those questions seriously, consciously. Do you suck at what you do? Do you suck in general? Are you wasting your time? Are you wasted potential? Do you not have the talent that you thought you did? Are you a bad artist? Are your ideas useless? Is your work actually just pointless and unnecessary? Once you ask yourself those questions, you have two options. Option one, give up. Plain and simple. Just give up. You can dwell on your own image and these low points and eventually succumb to all those negative thoughts of, yeah, maybe I do suck at this. And you know what? If you're tired of this all and you've been here a million times and you've been at this low point where you start to question everything over and over and over again, then maybe you should give up. Maybe this just isn't for you. If you're truly tired of this and you're tired of coming back to this spot, because it's not an easy position to be in. And I guarantee you're going to be back here again, just naturally. Or if you're even a little upset at me for suggesting you to give up, then that's honestly a good thing. You should be upset at me for saying that, because it means you don't fully believe the things that you're saying about yourself. You don't fully believe everything that's going on in your head. If I told you give up and you told me no, I would say good. That's the reaction I want to hear. At the very least, give up if you need to give up. Just for a little bit. Doesn't have to be forever. If you're burnt out, you're tired of feeling this way and you don't want to get back up and challenge all those thoughts, maybe just put it to the side for a little bit. You are the one that puts the pressure on yourself. You are the one that controls your release schedule, your output, the quality of stuff. If you don't feel like you can live up to your own standards, put it to the side for a second. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself be a person. Don't forget to be a person. It's very important. Maybe this isn't right for you right now in this stage. Thank you. Thank you, Emiliano. Don't quit. No, you're too sexy. I agree. Threw me off. Anyway, at the very least, if you're feeling burnt out and you're feeling like you're not really in the position to keep going right now, just give up for a little bit. Maybe what you're doing just isn't right for you right now. You got time to, regather yourself and become a human again. Maybe you've just need a break. Maybe you've hit a ceiling for the things that you can learn right now and the things that you can accomplish right now. That's okay. Maybe you need to take time to come back and be a human and live life and learn from other people, learn new experiences, just experience different things. Or if you really don't want to follow that advice either, which again, totally your choice, I have another option. Surprisingly, don't give up. You're too sexy. Jeff Watts is a painter, a multi-talented artist. I need to look more into what he actually does, but I watched this interview and he has a quote here. Practicing in the arts is going to do two things for you. It's going to make you good. It's going to make you quit. There's no in between. And this goes for anything. This doesn't just have to do with arts, but with art specifically, with creativity specifically, it's amplified because there really are no guidelines there's no guidelines, there's no paths for success. There's no one-shot answer. You don't go to school for 4 years, get a degree, and then get a full-time job, and you're fine for the next 40 years. That's not how it works. Art and creativity are totally self-driven. They're totally, you have to be disciplined in your own actions, in your own behaviors, and disciplined in your own image, in your own self-image. So obviously that makes it 20 times harder. It's not easy. But thankfully, other than just giving up, you do have other options. Try again. Differently. Do something different. Try again differently. Obviously, your last approach didn't work. That's a given. What can you do differently this time that might make it work? What can you do differently that what did you learn from the last time that you tried that you can apply to this time? And it's scary, right? Obviously, it's super scary because, if you're like me, you've been in this position over and over and over again where you set out, you have big goals, you have big dreams, and you want to do it, and you try something, you build up the courage to try it, and you go out and you do it, and then it doesn't work. So you have to come back to square one and try again. And it's scary because you do that process over and over and over again. And, eventually you start to question everything. You start to question, well, when will it work out, right? You can only try to do something in so many different ways before you just get tired of trying, right? That's exactly where I was at. That's kind of where I am right now. And that's why I'm documenting this and making this whole presentation, to tell myself there are other options than just giving up. My recommendation is to set the minimum. That's why I set the minimum in myself in this video right here. At one point in the beginning of this whole journey, I knew that I wouldn't have it figured out anytime soon. I knew going into it, I wouldn't have it figured out in the first month, the first 2 months, the first 6 months, the first year, probably the first 2 years. I knew I wouldn't have that figured out. I'd watched enough videos and I'd heard enough from other creators to know that the first 100 videos that you make probably aren't going to be bangers. They're probably not going to be amazing. They're probably not going to be, up to your quality, up to your standard of quality, a year from now. Even now, like I look back at the videos I made for this channel, and I look at everyone and I think I could do way better than that. Even though making the video at the time, I was like, this is the best video in the world. Like people gotta watch this. This is so good. I watched it back like a month later and I'm like, it's not that good. Like, it's not really as good as I thought it was. But at the time I thought it was great. And that's really all that matters at the time. But my point being, when I went into this, when I told myself I wanted to do this, I also told myself, hey, I'm not going to have it figured out with the first 5 videos, the first 10, the first 20, the first 50, even the first 100. I don't think I'll have it figured out by then. I'm 12 videos in. I'm 12 videos into this channel. And that is so few. Even though I've been doing it for, I think, like 5 months, I only have 12 videos on the channel. Part of that's because of my, the process and the quality that goes into each video and the time that it takes to write and blah, 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 whatever. You don't care. My point being, I set this minimum for myself of 100 videos, and I have 12 out there. And this past week, I thought about quitting. And I really had to evaluate that. I really had to evaluate where I was and think about the fact that I set this minimum. I do client work on the side. I help people build their YouTube channels. I help people 12 sexy videos. Thank you, Emiliano. I do client work on the side. I help people build their channels. I help people, grow their podcasts. I do a lot of social media, stuff like that. If somebody had only posted 12 videos and had come back to me and said, listen, man, I want to give up. Like, it's not really working out. I would either laugh at them or actually tell them to give up. Why is it different for myself? Why do I get the privilege to actually consider giving up? But if a client were to tell me, hey, this isn't growing as fast as I want to, I'm not really happy with this stuff that's coming out, and they only had 12 videos out, it's not fair. I don't get that privilege. I need to treat myself like a client. I know for a fact, deep inside my soul, deep inside my heart, deep inside my head, that this is what I want to be doing. Whether it's art or content or a podcast or whatever, I know that this is what I want to be doing. I haven't figured it out yet, I know that making content, being creative, and building community are all things that I love doing. Like deep inside of my soul, it's really at the core of who I am. I know that. So forget the results, forget the failures. If you love to do what you're doing, do it. It sounds so cliche, but I'm being dead serious. If you love what you're doing, keep doing it. But do it with intention. Do it because you actually want to make something out of it. You know, it doesn't even have to be money. It doesn't have to be a career thing. If you just want people to look at what you're doing and pay attention to what you're doing, or build a community, or you know, at least just put out the things that you want to put out, if that's your goal, do it with intention. Set goals. Figure out how you can get to that point. The way I do it, and the way that really honestly saved me this week, is setting that minimum for whatever I love to do. You know, so if you want to do YouTube, make 100 videos before you even think about quitting. If you want to do painting, make 100 paintings before you even think about quitting. Make 100 songs before you think about quitting. 100 music videos, 100 podcast episodes, whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be 100. Do whatever you're comfortable with, but at the end of the day, set yourself a minimum, because you're going to get to these points where you question everything. You start to question your identity. You start to question your purpose. You start to question everything about the core of who you are, because something's not working out the way you wanted it to. And it's a very personal thing, especially with things like this, where there is no path, there's no goal, there's no, right way to do it, there's no wrong way to do it. In your head, everything feels like the wrong way because it's not working. So it makes it even harder to feel like you're doing something right. But setting that minimum and actually putting in, the work, putting in the 1,000 hours is going to make you more confident in your ability, because like I said, I'm only 12 videos in. This will be my 13th video. I feel like I know so little about my own content, about my own message, about what I want to say. And I'll talk about this later. I'll talk about it in a later episode. But I'm so unfamiliar with the things that I want to say, and even more unfamiliar with how to say things that are valuable to other people. I'm still figuring that out. And I thought I had everything figured out just a few weeks ago. Obviously not the case. So going forward, keep going. That's how you grow. In anything. Doesn't have to be creative, doesn't have to be content, doesn't have to be art. Whatever it is that you love doing, keep going. Keep doing it. If you really love this and you really want to make something out of it, keep going. I have here this little how to grow circle, flywheel, chart thing, graph, whatever. And it goes like this. You learn something, anything. You evaluate what you learn, figure out what you can take away from it, and then you apply it. Apply it to what you're doing. And that means making something. That means actively applying that and making something and putting it out and, releasing it and being comfortable with it. And then once you put it out, look at it again. Learn from it. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? What can you take away from it? Evaluate that. Look back at it and figure out, okay, what did I like? What did I not like about it? Really get into the details of what you want to do, or what do you want to take away from it? And then apply it again. And you keep going through this cycle. You keep going again and again and again. You build on top of the things that you learn. You build on top of the things that you did right. You build on top of the things that you didn't do right. And you just repeat. You keep going. And you can get to the points where you feel like you want to quit. You can. I've done it a lot. I'm here right now. I'll probably be there again. I'll probably be in this exact position again in a month or two from now. My point with that is I'm constantly questioning everything about everything I ever do all the time. But specifically here with content, specifically here with YouTube. Again, I feel like I go into it every single time feeling like I know everything and feeling like, there's nothing that I can learn from, my own content, from other people's content. And, if people have stuff to say, I feel like I know everything. There's no need for you to tell me anything. Obviously not true. Obviously not true. Again, I'm only 12 videos in. I don't know that much about it. I'm still trying to learn. And I'm happy that I'm in this opportunity, or I'm happy I'm in this position where I have the opportunity to learn. You go back to square one, you do it again. I've tried a bunch of different strategies. I think on this channel, I've tried like 4 different strategies. And every single time I've walked away kind of feeling iffy about them, feeling like, I like some parts of this, I didn't like some parts of this. But the point is, I've learned from every single one of them. I still don't know exactly what I want to do with my YouTube channel. I still don't know exactly what I want to do with my art. I still don't know exactly what I want to do with anything, really. But my point being, now I know what to take away from them, and I know what to throw away from them, And I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep going until I get it down, until I know exactly what I want to do, and that'll probably be decades from now. Hopefully, with every single thing that I do, it's a learning experience, good or bad. If something goes great, okay, great. What can I learn from that? What can I apply to the next one? Something goes terribly, okay. Obviously, I made a misjudgment here. What can I do to make it better next time? It's the mindset of, and I feel like such a, bullshit like preacher talking about mindset, but it really is a mindset thing. It's about going into it and understanding that nothing you do is going to be perfect, ever. But you can strive towards it. It's about understanding that you're striving towards perfection, even if you never hit it, because you probably never will. It gets discouraging to constantly have to start over, truthfully. Like I said, you have 2 options. You can either keep going or you can quit. And it gets discouraging and it gets really tempting to quit after constantly having to come back to square one and telling yourself, okay, this sucks. I suck. Maybe this sucks. Maybe everything sucks. But it's a process. I'm still learning how not to see things negatively. I'm still learning how to not automatically get to those thoughts of, I suck, this sucks, everything sucks. But, 12 videos in and, however many years into, film and being creative and expressing myself and blah, 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 blah. I know so much more about my own content and so much more about my creative workflow, so much more about my messaging, what I want to say, what I don't want to say, how I want to say it, how I don't want to say it. I know so much more about all those things than I did when I started. And I think you really have to consciously make an effort to recognize that. You have to consciously make an effort to say, okay, even if I feel like I'm in a bad position right now, let me look at how I was doing, a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I didn't have it down, Think that to yourself. Look at what you did 2-3 months ago and tell recognize the fact that you didn't know as much then as you do now. If you've come this far and you've learned this much, why would you stop? I don't have any of it down perfectly. Again, I probably never will. But it's the pursuit of trying that really matters to me. And this really is what should matter to you too. I know more about it now than when I started. Everything I've ever done, I know more about now than when I started. And I'm going to be able to say that a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, a decade from now. It's got to count for something, right? It's got to count for something. So in conclusion, this is all a work in progress. I'm still learning about my talents. I'm still learning about my message, my purpose. And oddly enough, as it stands right now, I'm glad to be doing it live in front of you, in front of everyone. I feel like this is a process that can't be fabricated. It can't be ignored. And I feel like me going through this publicly, and sharing my experience and, all that doesn't just help me, because I tend to document everything. It helps other people too. If I were to take this experience and edit it down into like a 2-minute video that I pre-recorded and wrote the script for, I have the opportunity to cut certain things out and manipulate an image of myself that probably isn't true to the experience that I had. So being able to do this on a public platform and be able to share my experiences, good and bad, any sort of experiences that I have with it, if I'm able to share those with you and you're able to take some away from it, that's all I care about. That's the entire point of this podcast, this show, this video. I'm glad to be doing it with you. So, pretty short one today, but don't get down on yourself. I know I sound very defeated. I'm very tired. I have a lot going on, but I just wanted to hop on here and talk about my experience with that. Again, it's still a process. I'm still in progress with it. I'm at the point now where I am sitting back and reevaluating and figuring out, what I learned from the past few months, figuring out, how can I make things that are actually valuable for people? How can I make things that people will want to watch and people will walk away feeling good about watching? At the end of the day, I don't want to waste your time, and I'm trying to figure out how not to waste your time. That's the entire goal of everything I do, because I know your time is valuable and mine is too. So I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to say. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I will see you guys next week. Deuces.